So yeah, hello Fantastics, it's Mr. Clintastik here with a Strixhaven School of Mages limited review where we'll be focusing on the green cards, the mono green cards. If you enjoy my content, please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to help my channel grow in the future. So here we're just going to be focusing on limited, including sealed and draft. If something stands out for constructed, I might mention it, or maybe even commander, but this is mostly going to focus on sealed and draft. So yeah, I'm gonna be giving a grade on between 1 through 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best, on playability and whatnot, and that's gonna be dependent on the card by itself, not really the card in the context of what might work with it and whatnot, but really just the card in its own little bubble. So let's jump right in. First we have Accomplished Alchemist, a 4-drop, 3 generic, and a green elf druid. You can tap it, add a mana of any color. Okay. You can tap it, add X mana of any color, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. Okay, and it's a 2/5. Kind of late to be ramping, right? A 4 mana ramper. I mean, if you're trying to play those big spells in red that we were seeing before, this could potentially help. 4-drop 2/5. Couldn't have made it a 3/5 for the kicks. Is this going to help you win the game? I don't know. Overall, this card is just average to me. Playable, but it's not game breaking. I'm going to give it a 3. Next, we have Basic Conjuration. Excuse me. We have Basic Conjuration, the 3-drop, 1 generic, 2 green. It's a sorcery lesson. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You gain 3 life. So you have to play a card with the learn mechanic on it. Go get this card, play this card, then look at the top 6 cards of your library, get the creature card, put into your hand, and then gain 3 life. That's a little too much for me, even for it being a lesson. I'm gonna give it a 2 point. I'm gonna give it a 2, really. Maybe I'm gonna give it a 2.5. It's just a little below average for me, even being a lesson. 3 mana to do that? No. It really could be. I really want to just give it a 2. Right above playable. A lot of times I'm probably going to be looking right over the card itself. And it's a rare. It kind of irritates me sometimes when they make a card rare and it doesn't offer much value to hardly any format. Even limited, where a lot of cards need to shine or get an opportunity to shine. Next we have Bayou Growth, 2-drop, 1 generic, and a green. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature or pay 3. It's a 5/4. Okay, this is a 4. This is well above curve, like well above value. Like a 2-drop 5/4. Yeah, you gotta sack a creature, but that could be a 1/1 creature. And at the end of the day, even if you can't sack the creature, you top deck this 5-drop 5/4 plant dog. I mean, it's a freaking plant dog. This is getting a 4 from me in green. I like it a lot, and I'll definitely consider it anytime I see it. And in standard, we might even see it in standard. You play your Love Struck Beast, the 1-drop part of it. You get the 1-drop part of this, I mean, you sack it for this, get a 5/4 out on turn 2. Come on now. Great hinge out on turn 3. Oh, geez. The horror. Next we have Big Play. 2 drop, 1 generic, 1 green instant. Did I even grade that card? Oh yeah, I said it was a 4. Big Play. 2 drop, 1 generic and a green instant. Target creature gets 2/2 and gains reach until end of turn. Put a 1/1 counter on it. Okay. Everything about that got better and better. 2/2, gains reach, and you can put a counter on it. That's total of 3 for 2 mana. I'm giving this a 3.75. Green is showing up. Green is really showing up so far. I mean, I think we had like 1 bust. Well, no. These 2 cards were just okay. But yeah, I'm going to give Big Play a 3.75. This is something you'll definitely want to play. I'll run multiple copies of it because not only is it pumping your creature, it's putting a counter on it at the end of the day, and that's always valuable. Next we have Bookworm, an 8 drop. 7 generic and a green worm with trample. Okay. Heavy mana cost with trample. When it ETBs, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Okay. Pay 3, 2 generic and a green. Put Bookworm from your graveyard into your library 3rd from the top. Interesting. I'm giving this a 3.5. It's really freaking big. Like you'll have to try to ramp into it, and I don't know if we're gonna have the ramp pieces required. And I still think that white black or white red or red black are gonna have the tools necessary to aggro out some big pieces like this. So I'm really just gonna give this a 3.25. I love the recursive power, but I'm not gonna run 3 of these in my deck, right? I'm only gonna run 1, maybe 2, because it just costs too much. So I'm gonna give it a 3.25. I think it's a little bit above curve, but it's still pretty dang expensive. Next we have Charge Through, a 1 drop in green. Target creature gains trample until end of turn, draw a card. Triggers Magecraft, which Magecraft seemed to be most potent in white. I don't understand why. I thought it was going to be more so across the entire board, but I'm not seeing a lot in other places. Kind of just nets you a card, right? 1 for 1 for drawing the card. Give a creature trample. I'm going to give it a 2.75. I'm just not really a big fan of this card. Unless green has more Magecraft to offer, which I doubt it. I'm not seeing it so far. I'm going to give it a 2.75 just because, I mean, 1 drop draws you a card. Maybe you trigger Magecraft in another color. And we haven't even got to the gold cards yet, so I think it's decent, but I think it's a little bit low average. Next we have Containment Breach. 3 drop, 2 generic and a green. Sorcery Lesson. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Okay. If its mana value is 2 or less, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with. When this creature dies, you gain 1 life. Okay, I love this. This is 3.75. Like, first off, it's a lesson that you can go get out the sideboard. And I say 3.75, maybe a little too soon. Maybe, because it only destroys an artifact or an enchantment. So the first copy is going to be important, but the next one, I'm just going to give it a 3.5. I'm going to tone it down just a bit. It's above average, though, because it's a lesson you can just go grab out the sideboard when you learn, and then if the enchantment is 2 or less, it gives you a creature. I think this is a really good card, but I'm not going to want to have 3 or 4 of these. I'm only going to want 1, maybe 2, depending on the format. Next we have Devouring Tendrils. 2 drop, 1 generic, 1 green. Sorcery. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. When the permanent you don't control dies this turn, you gain 2 life. So this isn't even a fight spell. This is straight up, I'm bullying you. My damage is being dealt to you. That's really good. I'm going to give this a 3.5. You know, your green deck, actually I'm going to give this 3.75. In your green decks, you're going to want 2 or 3 of these. Put out your biggies. Boom. That's going to deal damage to you. I'm going to give it a 3.75. I think green is going to like having those at 2 mana especially. Next we have Dragon's Guard Elite, a 2-drop, 1 generic and a green, human druid with Magecraft. Yay! Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, put a 1/1 counter on Dragon's Guard Elite. Pay 6, 4 and 2 green. Double the number of 1/1 counters on Dragon's Guard Elite. This is a 4.5. This is really, really nice. Really, your opponent's going to want to get this off the board ASAP Rocky. You pop off a couple of spells. Say you put 2 1/1 counters on to make it a 4/4. You pay 6, you'll make it a 6/6, and then you pay 6 again. You make it like a 10/10, right? So it just has exponential value early game and late game. I love this card. I think this is really a 4.75. This is pretty ridiculous in my opinion, but I'm just going to give it a 4.5 for now, and we're going to see how it plays out. Next we have Ecological Appreciation. 1 green, 2 generic, and X, sorcery, mythic. Search your library and graveyard for up to 4 creature cards with different names that each have mana value X or less and reveal them. An opponent chooses 2 of those cards. Shuffle the chosen cards into your library and put the rest on the battlefield. What? Exile Ecological Appreciation? Gee whiz. Okay, so this is really strong. This is really strong. So how much mana do you really need? That's how we're really going to determine the actual value of it. 3 mana to fire off. So if you want a 1 mana card, you got to pay 4. 2 mana card 5. 3 mana card 6. But you can get 3 creatures for 6 mana. It's 2 mana apiece. I'm gonna give this a 3.5. Actually, yeah, because it's not something, in my opinion, I'm gonna want multiple copies of, even if I could get them. And I could be wrong on that, because even though it's super strong, I'm only gonna really want 1 copy. Maybe 2. But you have this early game, and say you only have 4 mana, you only go get a 1/1 creature, right? It's not going to do you any good. You got to have 5 to 6 mana. And I think 6 mana is really that sweet spot for this card. So I'm going to give it a 3.5, but I do think it has a lot of potential. Emergent Sequence, a 2-drop. 1 generic and a green, sorcery. Search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped. Shuffle. That land becomes a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature that's still a land. Put a 1/1 counter on it for each land for each land you had entered the battlefield under your control this turn. I like the fact that it ramps. I love the fact that it ramps. If it would produce a fractal token, cool. But making my land become a fractal token is kind of dangerous. It's really dangerous, makes it targetable. And then I'm down to land. I think this is average. I mean, it could come down as a 2-2. You play a land and then play this. Gets 2 1-1 counters on it. I'm gonna give it a 3.25. I'll let it be a little above average. It has a interesting effect. I just don't know how much I like it. But I'm not gonna disrespect it and just make it average. It's a little above average. And it's probably even higher than 3.25. But we'll just have to wait and see. Next we have exponential growth. 2 green, 2 generic. Until end of turn, double target creature's power X times. So let's see. We'll start with a 1-1. You have a 4 mana card. You double it once for 4 mana. So it's 2. Double it twice for 6 mana. So it's 4. You double it 3 times for 8 mana. I don't know. If you get us to like a double striker maybe. It's not even instant speed. And there's a lot of mana you gotta sink into it. I'm gonna get this a 3.25 as well. I think it has some potential, but I think it's just a little above average, and that's just because its effect is unique. Next we have Field Trip, a 3-drop, 2 generic and a green sorcery. Search your library for a basic forest card, put that card on the battlefield tapped, shuffle your library. See, already better than the last card, and it has learn. This is already better than the last card. Well, can't say that. It only gets forests, but it lets you learn, and it's a mana more expensive. I'm gonna have to put this in the same category of 3.25. I'm gonna have to just see how these really play out. And they have really interesting effects that are a little costly. Like ramping for 3 isn't the worst thing in the world. We do have Cultivate. Ramping with a learn effect attached to it I think is great, but this is only searching for a basic forest, which you got to keep in mind as well. They might not be such a concern, but it's still slightly a concern. So I'm gonna give it a 3.25, and it could easily bump up. I don't see it going down at all. Next we have Fortifying Draught, a 1-drop in green instant. You gain 2 life. Target creature gets +X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. So 1-drop +2/+2, which is already great. And then if you gain more life, this could be a game finisher. This legit could be a game finisher. If you got a flyer that's swinging in for, you know, one damage, for instance, your eye twitch or whatever it's called in black, you pump it, make it a 3/3, and say you gain other life this turn, 2-3 life, we'll say 3, it's swinging in for 6 all of a sudden off of 1 mana. I'm gonna give this a 3.75. I think this is pretty potent. Fortifying Draught, I think green's really gonna love seeing that, and I would definitely run multiple copies in my deck. Next we have Gnarled Professor, 4-drop, 2 generic, 2 green, Treefolk Druid with Trample. When it ETBs, learn, it's a 5/4. Yes, yes, yes. This is a definite 4. A 4-drop, 5/4. That's already delicious with Trample. Scrumdiddlyumptious. This is actually going to get a 4.25. This gets better and better the more I look at it. It ETBs, you learn. So, you know, say you can bounce it or something. You get to get that ability again. I think that's where learn's really going to shine is if you get to learn multiple times off the same card, for instance. I think that'd be crazy, but this card's really good in my opinion. It's giving you value all around. They're going to have to take it out. It's trampling over chumps and whatnot. You might be able to pump it, whatnot. I love it. 4.25. Let's go. Next we have Honor Troll. Pun intended. Honor Troll. 3-drop, 2 generic and a green troll druid with vigilance. Relevance. So freaking relevant. If you would gain life, you gain that much life plus 1 instead. Only plus 1? Really? Honor Troll gets 2/1 as long as you have 25 more life. So it could be a 3-drop 4/4, which with vigilance. I'm gonna give it a 3.5. This is definitely above curve. Decent card. It nets you a little bit more life, like on your instances of life gain. I think it's better than average. It's okay. And I think vigilance is very relevant, so I'm gonna give it a 3.5. Next we have Karak Wrangler, 5-drop, 4 generic and a green, elf druid with magecraft. Okay. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. It's a 3/3. This is great. I mean, I gotta give it a 3.25 off of the mana cost. It's a 5-drop 3/3, but you get this off and you start playing your instants and sorceries, you could start putting counters everywhere. I think it's a little bit above average. I'm gonna give it a 3.25, but I don't think it's good enough to just be like, let me pick this up every time I see it. Just maybe like one, 2 copies. It really just needs more power. Like that 5/4 for 4. That's some power. That's some juice. Next we have Leyline Invocation, a 6-drop, 5 generic, and a green sorcery. Create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put X 1/1 counters on it, where X is the number of lands you control. For 6? I'm gonna make a 6/6 for 6. I'm gonna give it a 2. I mean, a 6/6 for 6 is okay, but no trample. It can be bounced and die. I'm gonna give it a 2. It's not interesting to me. Next we have Mage Duel, 3-drop, 2 generic and a green sorcery. This spell costs 2 less to cast if you cast another instant or sorcery spell this turn. Okay. Target creature you control gets 1/2 until end of turn. Then it fights target creature you don't control. I'm gonna give it a 3.5. You can play a 1 or 2 drop spell and still get to play this spell. Essentially for 1. So it's still 3 mana. I think that's a lot of value. And then you get to fight a creature and pump the butt a little bit more than the power. I think that's great. I'm gonna give this a 3.5. And I'll definitely run 2 to 3 copies of this easily. Next we have Master Symmetrist, 4-drop, 2 generic and 2 green, Rhino Druid with reach. Whenever a creature you control with power equal to its toughness attacks, it gains trample until end of turn. This is a 4. A 4-drop for 4, right? That gives most of your creatures trample when they attack is ridiculous. It already has reach itself. Then it's giving itself trample. This is great. Definite 4. I could see it being a 4.25 depending on the format. Master Symmetrist. Next we have Overgrown Arc, 2-drop, 1 generic and a green, plant wall, defender. You gain 1 life by tapping it. You can pay 2, sacrifice it, and learn. It's a 0/4 wall. I'm gonna get this a 3.25. I think it's a little above average because there's a lot of significant, if you gain life this turn or as much life as you gain this turn type deals. And then it has the sacrifice ability to go pick up learn a lesson whenever you need to for 2. It's gonna block early The only thing it doesn't have is reach. So I think that's 3.25. It's above curve, and I think you'll want to play a few copies if you're in that deck. Next, Professor of Zoomancy. A 4-drop 3 generic and a green bear druid. Whenever Professor of Zoomancy ETBs, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with. Whenever this creature dies, you gain 1 life. It's a 4/3. So a 4/3 for 4, already average. And I think its ability, being an ETB, is pretty potent too. I'm going to give this a 3.25 as well. You know, it's okay. I'll run a few copies of it, I suppose, because it's built on my board along with another creature. And it has some pretty decent stats attached to it. Next we have Reckless Amplimancer, 2-drop, 1 generic, 1 green. Elf Druid, you can pay 5 for generic and a green. Double Reckless Amplimancer's power and toughness until end of turn. So for 5 you can make it a 4/4. It's the Elf Druid. It's a 2-drop for 2, so it's average. And I guess his extra ability bumps it into the 3.25 range. But it's really just not that exciting. I mean, late game, say you have 10 mana. I don't know where we're going to get all this mana from. Jeez Louise. You know, you could pump it, double it to 4, then double it to 8. Maybe close out a game, which will definitely put this at 3.75. So this might be a 3.5 type card. I just don't know yet. I just don't know. So for now, we're just going to give it a 3.25, a little above average, and keep on going. Next, we have Scurrid Colony, 2-drop, 1 generic and a green. Squirrel, reach. Scurrid Colony gets 2/2 as long as you control 8 or more lands. Serviceable, 3.25 as well. Just above average. Just nothing really exciting to me, unfortunately. Next we have Spined Karak, a 3-drop, 2 generic and a green crocodile, 2/4. I mean, it got decent stats, a 3-drop, 2/4 on the ground. It doesn't have any abilities. You don't want to play this. I'm gonna mark this as a 1. You typically want cards with abilities at this point. Granted, this can block for you, but we had a 1-drop, or was it a 2-drop? Yeah, a 2-drop earlier here. That's a 0/4 that could block for you and gain you life and learn. So yeah, I don't really see this being played. I'm gonna give it a 1.5 because if you just need a playable, serviceable ground blocker, maybe this is where you go. Maybe. I'll give it a 1.5. Next we have Spring Mane Servan, 3-drop, 2 generic and a green elk. When it ETBs, you gain 2 life. It's a 3/2. So already average, being a 3-drop 3/2. Comes in, gains you 2 life. If there's ways to bounce or recur your creatures, getting that 2 life over and over again will be very valuable. And there are cards that rely on if you gain life this turn type deal. So I'm gonna give this a 3.25. These cards really in green, it's like they're scratching the surface. Like, they're just decent. They're just a little above average, but they're not like completely mind-blowing, other than our gnarled professor over here. Next we have Tangle Trap, 2-drop, 1 generic and a green. Instant, choose 1. Tangle Trap deals 5 damage to target creature with flying or destroy target artifact. They could have made this a lesson. They could have made this a lesson, even if at sorcery speed. This could have been great as a lesson. I'm going to put it at average, maybe even like a 2.5. It's a little below. You're not always going to have a flyer to blow up or an artifact. And I'm not going to run multiple copies. So it's always going to be like something I'm just like, about putting in my deck. Verdant Mastery, 6-drop, 5 generic and a green. Sorcery, you may pay 3 generic and a green rather than pay the spell's mana cost. I have hated just about every time I've said that, except for white. White wasn't so bad, but it was pretty dang bad. Search your library for up to 4 basic lands and reveal them. Put 1 onto the battlefield tapped under an opponent's control if the 4 mana cost was paid. Put 2 of them on the battlefield under your control and the rest into your hand. So you pay 6. So alright, so wait a second. You pay 6 mana to put 2 mana on the board and put 2 mana in your hand. You pay 4 mana to put 2 mana on the board, 1 mana on the board for your opponent, and then put 1 in your hand. I don't know how much I want to give my opponent any value. It ramps you by 2, ramps them by 1, and you had to pay the cost to be the boss. 1, don't play that. Don't do it. Don't give your opponent any, don't ramp them at all. And it's not even like it's giving them a treasure token. It's giving them way better than a treasure token. Okay. Alright. So it looks like that wraps up the green portion of the mono green cards. Mono green has some things in it. But still, so far, white is looking very potent. And I think red is a follow-up, maybe black. I'm gonna have to look back over them again. But that's gonna wrap up the green portion of the set review. If you enjoy this kind of content, please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to help my channel grow in the future, help boost my confidence, and show me that I am appreciated. Next time when I'm back, I'll be going over the, what do they call them? The MDFCs, modal double face cards. And we'll probably go right into the gold cards with that as well. So stay tuned, and that's probably going to be another stream for that, because that's a lot of multicolored cards, and I don't think I'm going to go over all of those today. So that's going to wrap it up for now. Hope you enjoyed. Please be sure to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You know the deal. As always, you guys are fantastic. My name is Mr. Clintastik, and I'll see you guys next time.